As you know, this is the measure of an episode, where it is our continuing mission to watch strange new shows. This week, we watched, what did we watch, Jonathan?
We watched Strange New World.
That's right, episode 1, season 1?
Yeah, series 1.
Series, start date. Okay, so I guess we should start. This is a brand new show.
Brand new show.
Not brand new writers.
And not brand new characters.
No. And they do a little teasing of us every once in a while, you know.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about the theme song. I really liked how it was adventurous and it was kind of a march. But what I don't like about New Trek is how each series, I guess I haven't watched Prodigy yet, so I don't know yet. But of the series that the live action series, all the live action series have that little tag at the end that's just a motif from one of the other series. All of them do. And it just bugs me.
Well, if you think about all of the other the classic Trek,
right,
not including original series and next gen, they don't have the Star Trek fanfare, the bum 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 bum. They don't include that. So Deep Space Nine does not have that. Voyager does not have that, and neither does Enterprise. And boy, does Enterprise not have that.
Got a good strumming guitar.
They leaned into not having that. Yeah, it rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want out of my Star Trek theme song, is that it rocks in a Diane Warren kind of way. So anyway,
you showed me that intro, right, with where they took Archer's theme. And
and they put it in. It works way better.
Way better. Yeah.
So anyway, in this new Trek, everything is a reference. They're always trying to remind you that you're watching Star Trek with these intros. And I will say that the intro to this one took a couple beats from the Voyager playbook, where we're going to have the Enterprise flying through celestial phenomena.
Right.
And it looked cool. It was cool. I was fine with it. It felt very Star Trek. The theme, I kind of had a problem with. I agree with you that I liked that it was orchestral. I liked that it was in the genre of music that usually Star Trek themes are. But what I didn't like is, so the composer Jeff Beal, who has written all of the Picards, probably Discovery. I don't actually know if he did Discovery, but he wrote the theme for this one. He did not write the music, but he's apparently now the TV Star Trek guy.
Right.
And what I didn't like, he did a very intellectual thing, which is already a red flag when it comes to music. You don't want to intellectualize your music. It tends to be unsuccessful in my experience. But he took the snippet of the original series theme, that one.
Mm-hmm. Wait, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Can you do that again?
No. And so what he took is the shape of those melodies and kind of made a new theme out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, I understand that you were doing musically what the show is trying to do with everything else. You're trying to remind us that we're watching Star Trek. And I felt like it just wasn't interesting. I felt like it accomplished its goal. It's like, I'm sure they told him, we want this to be reminiscent of the original series theme.
Right. Tell me we're watching Star Trek without telling me we're watching Star Trek.
Yes. And I guess they got that.
Yeah,
I guess
they did.
He followed the brief. But would you listen to it? You know, is it as catchy as maybe the Next Generation one?
No, I agree. I think that if this had been the first Trek theme song, what am I trying to say? I don't think
know.
I don't either. Let's all go on this journey. No, I don't think that it would have been as catchy. I mean, because it's not. There's something about it that is kind of what you said, just reminiscent of Trek without really being like, oh, okay, this is a good theme song.
Yeah, it doesn't hit you where it's supposed to hit you.
Yeah, I think it's too familiar to the original series that I can't tell you how this one goes.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that they quoted the theme basically of the original series, but it doesn't exist in and of itself.
Yeah.
And to someone where Strange New Worlds is their first introduction to Trek, they would just be like, oh, okay.
Right.
Was it this episode that there's a Kahn reference? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, there's
Picard.
At the end of Picard, he picks up that project that says Project Kahn, and it actually is dated from June 7th, 1996 or something like that. So the eugenics war happened just in a different country, and it's just never been mentioned. other than
Okay.
history, which is kind of cool. But in this series, there was the standing first officer, Nunyan Singh, and that's Khan's last name.
I was wondering about that because it felt familiar.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's super close to Noonien Sung,
I know, yeah, but
which I
nope.
feel like, come on, guys.
I know, right?
I guess it's not their fault. These are old names.
But it's their fault when in Next Generation, when they did Nunyan Sung, like, was that supposed to be?
That was probably just not. They just never seen Star Trek before.
No, I think it was like, we're never going to use this, so let's just do a little allusion to this person who created better humans, and now like it's all interwoven. So
I guess so. Like they all kind of go to the same club. From now on, we will call ourselves Sung. You can spell it however you want, but that you got to call it yourself that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as having a character. It's like, I got a new idea for a Star Trek show. It's about a Vulcan named Captain Slock. What do you think?
And he has an emotional hothead of a first officer named Kark.
Kark? Is he Irish?
Oh, Kark.
I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know either. But speaking of references, I did like how many references there were in this. And there wasn't any like wink to the audience about it. It was just, here it is. It's part of the story. If you know, it's a great reference. And if you don't, you're not thinking you missed anything.
Exactly. So Picard is like this. It's that person who makes a joke, and regardless if he knows or thinks everybody got the joke, he has to
explain the joke.
Explain the joke.
Yep.
That's Picard.
Yeah.
At least in Strange New Worlds, they kind of let it sit with you. And if you're smart enough and if you catch it, you can enjoy it. If not, it doesn't ruin the episode.
Like jumping way to the end. I know that they've already cast Kirk, and I wish that whoever the actor is that plays Kirk actually had played Sam Kirk just with a mustache, because that's who Sam Kirk is. It's William Shatner with a mustache.
Well, wait a minute. Is Samuel Kirk? It's Kirk's dad, right?
No, it's Jim's brother.
Oh, I didn't know that. Don't say that like that's something everybody knows.
No, but we should know because it's from the episode with the flying snot.
Oh, that's right. So he has a pretty bad death coming up.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at least Kirk and Pike are in it together that way, I guess.
Yeah. So I have to say, without going through every single detail, because it's not really necessary for something like this, I think that this is a really well conceived show.
Yes.
It's so refreshing compared to Picard.
Yes.
Where Picard just feels like a hot mess. And it's so confusing because it's written by the same people.
Is it? I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same guy, at least the same guy.
What I would guess then is that they have a good idea for a story, and on Strange New Worlds, they go, yes, let's make that into an episode. And on Picard, they're like, yes, now how do we make that 10 episodes?
This already feels, even though we've only watched one episode, way more cohesive and, as I said, better conceived than any of these Picard episodes.
Right.
And I couldn't tell you why. It just does. It just feels good. You know, I mean, it's not perfect. It felt a little like slow in points and not in a good way. When they have conversations, but every single character felt very well conceived.
Yep.
Every beat in the plot, like the structure of the plot, was flowed.
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised. Did you feel the same way?
I knew a little bit more about it than you did going into it, so I was going in. I mean, I always do. I go in with optimism and anticipation. Like, I'm never like, all right, time to suffer through this one. I mean, even on episode 10, like, I was still nervous of Picard. Sorry, episode 10 of Picard. I was still nervous, but I was going into it being like, yeah, this is Star Trek. Like, I'm going to enjoy it. And, I get punched in the nuts a lot doing that, but
yeah.
But yeah, I went into it like, hoping, kind of expecting it to be good, and I'm glad that I was not disappointed. And I like Anson Mount as Pike. Like, I wrote down, he's kind of a perfect blend. He's what Archer tried to be while still being Kirk and Picard, at least in this episode.
Yeah, I feel like he's more tortured than any other captain.
Oh, for sure. Maybe Cisco a little bit. But no, my point being that, like, the speeches that he gave to people and, like, his demeanor towards them was very warm but like in a commanding way. And Archer kind of always had that aw shucks dad type feel.
Yeah, it always feels suspect that he would be a captain,
Right.
Archer.
Yeah. Yeah. But Anson Mount as Pike just gives this confidence of like, I am going to be your captain. I am going to help train and coach you. And I have the experience and the knowledge to do that. And it just like when he was talking to Spock and Nonyan Singh, I forget her first name, like just all of his conversations, I was there for it just because of Mount.
It's the hair.
It's got to be. I mean, it was great hair. Yeah.
It's great hair. Yeah. I have an Anson Mount story if you'd like to hear.
No.
So 20 years ago, effectively.
Yeah.
Or exactly. However we're looking at it.
It's a great story so far.
I was driving in LA. I lived in very close to Culver City, New York. I don't know why New York came out of that. Culver City, Los Angeles. And the story is not off to a good start. So anyway, I was driving around and there's this guy whose car has stalled in the middle of the intersection. And so I get out and I help him move his car over the side of the road. He's like, can I take you somewhere where I don't know what's wrong with your car, but can I take you? Can I drive you somewhere? He's like, yeah, well, do you know of an auto shop somewhere? He's like, maybe. I don't know. I think I had just moved there. So I knew nothing about Culver City. Really should not have been offering to take him anywhere that he didn't already know where to go. So
Right.
we get in the car and just two random people. He seems very closed off for some reason. And we get to talking. He says he's an actor. His name is Anson. And I think at this point he was an actor, but like sort of a nothing TV actor.
Right. Bits here
So I
and there,
drove
yeah.
him around and I had no idea where I was going. And he was sort of expecting me to know where I was going. And I was just kind of looking, like hoping, like this would have happened for anybody. Like it's not like I recognized him.
Right.
And so we drive around for probably 20 to 30 minutes, just looking for a place, ending up back at his car with no, with nothing having been accomplished. Like we talked awkwardly for a few minutes. I think he was very nervous and maybe he had regretted getting into a car of a stranger.
Right.
And he was like, I was like, all right. So yeah, sorry, I didn't get you anywhere. It was nice to meet you. Good luck. And he just got out. And I would love to have talked to him afterward because I was barely sentient at this point in my life,
Yeah.
And he just, I don't know if he thought like that was stupid. Like I wish he would have like tried to hurt me or kidnap me or something. Like nothing happened. And so later, my girlfriend at the time, we were watching TV and he happened to pop up, and I was like, oh yeah, I helped that guy with his car. It's like, you helped Anson Mount with his car? It's like, yeah. It's like, well, not really.
I wouldn't say car. I wouldn't say help.
Yeah. I saw him in my car. I tricked him into getting into my car.
So I can drive him around for half an hour.
And that's my Anson Mount story.
He probably remembers that, like, vividly.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing that happened. So good for him. He turned his career. I guess he made it home from whatever.
I wonder if he was off to an audition, like, and he's just like, I'm later. Maybe I'll make it. It's gonna be close, but I could be. No, I'm not gonna make it. Like now, I'm just driving around with this strange guy.
Yeah, but you're right. He was quite good. I think this comes down to what I've said about like Harrison Ford and Tom Hanks and these types of people, where I don't know if I would call him this fantastic actor, any of them, but there's something that we like about them.
Yeah.
Including Anson Mount. There's just something that is charismatic, but not in an overt way. He's not trying very hard, but just the hair, it's hypnotizing, number one. But also there's just a way about some of these people that's just like, oh, we like these people. There are some people who have to try really hard to get you there. A person that comes to mind is Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
I think that he has to try kind of hard, even though he's kind of a good looking guy and he can sing and he's very successful. I don't think that he's just naturally, especially when you see him in movies,
right?
He seems like he's trying hard to be what Harrison Ford can do, just sitting down and saying lines.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, but everybody was great. I mean, everybody. And Spock is really good. I was sort of like, I'm not sure how I felt about the whole recreational sex Spock Vulcans. You know, I
Right.
don't know how I feel about that, because I do understand that we're supposed to think that Vulcans are these emotionless automatons who are really smart and
Uh-huh.
try at any measure to suppress their emotions. But I kind of was on board with this idea. It's like, well, that doesn't really evolutionarily make sense. They wouldn't be that way. I can't imagine that they don't have urges. And I know that they have the Ponfar, which we've talked about, which I thought we had settled that that's the only sex that they have. They repress sexual urges
Right. So I don't know why
outside
they're
of.
showing anything different because we had established that it's not like that's not allowed. So
But I liked it. I liked this idea that even in the confines of the suppression of emotion, that they do this, that because they do talk about being married all the time,
right.
and we don't get the sense that they are arranged or businesslike about it. That there is something emotional happening there. So I guess they went down. I mean, I feel like they can only do that if it's going to be interesting. They can't just show people standing in a room next to each other. Like, do you want to get married? Okay.
Right. Well, yeah, and sorry, you missed my joke. I was saying like since we established that Ponfar was the only time that they had sex, like it seems weird that they're going against what we had
Oh,
already determined.
I no, I took that as yes. I agree with you.
Uh,
Are there other Star Trek podcasts?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I
so either.
I,
I
I
don't know
mean,
what. Who,
yeah, there's like I think there's like two or three that, but they stopped a while ago. Like there's not really any current podcasts besides ours that talk about Star Trek.
yeah, they haven't come out with a new episode in like years or something
Right,
like that.
right.
And why would they?
Yeah,
There's nothing like new.
yeah. It was kind of suggested, and I was like, I guess that makes sense that it's logical to have recreational sex or at least just sex outside of Ponfar because you are you're helping your spouse deal with their Ponfar, even though you're not sexually active at that moment.
Right. We don't know if Ponfar sync up.
Right.
That's the one thing we don't know.
Yeah.
And hopefully, Strange New Worlds will cover that at a certain point. I will say that this is an adult show. I mean, we had talked about this in our Picard season 1 episode of should Star Trek be accessible to everyone?
Mhm.
And I do not think that this show is accessible to everyone in the same way that Picard really isn't, because
See, and I was thinking the same thing at first, but I think first off, the sex is only in the beginning, and second off, they showed about as much as the original series.
this felt pretty dark though when he like the not even the sex stuff, because I don't think sex is necessarily as bad as, say, someone obviously being burned alive.
Right. Like in his flash forwards.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
to me is way more traumatic than having sex with your clothes on.
Right, but the censors don't care about it as much.
Yeah, but if you think about it, even the idea of we have a character now who knows the time and date of his death.
Yes.
Man, that would suck if someone just told you the time. It's going to be at 10:03 a.m.
Oh, they didn't tell you the date?
They don't tell you the date. So every day,
Right?
every single day, you gotta wait
Uh,
for 10:03 to come and pass so you can continue with your day.
yeah.
And I feel like if it was at like 7 a.m., that's easier
Right.
than,
Yeah.
say,
You just
7
wake up.
at night. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
here's the kick too. Every day you have to wake up at 6:55.
I guess what I would do is I would plan my life around sleeping through it, no matter what time of day. Even if it was a 7 p.m., I'd be like, I'm going to sleep through that. So I wake
Right.
up either dead or alive.
Yeah.
What?
There's a whole song about waking up dead.
There is?
Yeah. I'll send it to you. We'll put it in the links.
In this show? I missed it.
Did you miss that song and dance number?
Strangely, no. I was expecting one because they did it in Picard.
What? Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, what if they did go to some planet that forces you to sing and dance? So it's a musical episode, but it's a self-aware, self-referencing musical episode. That would be amazing.
Yeah, this seems like a job for Lower Decks, kind of.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back, so I just feel like just that concept of knowing you're going to die, that's a pretty heavy concept. And I think if you were to show that to a 10-year-old, they wouldn't really understand why that's a big deal for for.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
yeah, but as a parent, like the other thing too is death is a much easier conversation than sex.
Agreed, but I'm just saying the weight of knowing that. I
Right.
don't think a 10-year-old you could ever explain that to a 10-year-old because they don't. I don't think 10-year-olds, at least I didn't. I had no concept of dying. I mean, I knew about it in the abstract, but not my own death.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty heavy concept to give a character. And now we know what his demons are. And I'm so glad that they revealed his demons in the same episode, that it wasn't this long protracted arc throughout the whole show where we're getting little bits and pieces of it in an annoying way, that we kind of know.
Well, and it felt so natural. Like Spock, he was able to talk to Spock about it because Spock was there when it happened. And he was distracted by it in quiet moments and not in the middle of the situation.
Yeah. He seems he just seems like a good character.
Right.
That's why I said well conceived. Like it's not something like it's not bad writing where you try and create conflict or manufacture conflict because you have this thing. Like he's not talking about it all the time.
Right. No.
He just talked about it once.
Yeah.
He has visions of it. I guess anybody would.
Well, I guess he talks about it twice. Like he talks about it at the beginning with Spock and not really saying, like he's kind of saying how he's not supposed to talk about it to anyone. And then he tells the whole planet about how he saw his death.
I thought he said he saw his future.
Oh, maybe.
Which
is different. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I don't like a lot of speeches. I'm not a speech guy. He makes a bunch of speeches in this show, which maybe that's a pilot thing. Maybe that's not going to happen going forward. I don't like long speeches to people in the same way I don't like newscasts in movies and television. I feel like they're just kind of, this is lazy. A little bit lazy to get through.
It is a little bit, but it also really depends on the delivery. You know, like Archers are a bit of a struggle to get through, but Picards are pretty easy to listen to. You know, and
they're brief though. Like Picard's, he doesn't droll on for a long time. He gets to the point. I think,
but
more so.
That's what
than
I'm saying.
Like
I think that you like Picard enough that you don't mind his speeches. You're like, oh, good thing you only talked for like 2 seconds. 7 minutes have gone by. But yeah, Janeway the same thing. It's a bit of a struggle to get through, but as of right now, the way Mount delivers the speeches is it's very natural and, like you said, he's very engaging. So it's easier to listen to. At least for me, like you may just be a speech is a speech is a speech unless it's from Patrick Stewart.
No, I feel like what makes him interesting also, and his delivery, it kind of informs his delivery, is he's the reluctant hero. He doesn't want to be there. And so he kind of has nothing to lose because he's first of all, he feels like he's on borrowed time anyway.
Right.
An expression that doesn't make sense. But he also, he said, I don't want to go. Don't make me go. I want to stay here with my windmills and my ranch. By the way, just as a very small nitpick, I'm going to nitpick the show a little bit. Why would there be wind turbines in a place where we have matter antimatter reactions to power the whole planet? There wouldn't really be, unless it's like sort of a vestige. Like you have grandma's old pottery, except his is a wind turbine. It's like it reminds me of home or something.
Right.
Like you just wouldn't have them. I mean, it was kind of cool because it was a nice big thing it's grandiose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the theme of this show, if you think about it. If you think about how luxuriously spacious the Enterprise is compared to what the next Enterprise will be. I know that's a stupid thing to say because this is the modern Trek and we can't make it look like old Trek just because. But everything is so huge. If you saw, like when you saw Pike's quarters, it was the size of the bridge in Voyager.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying big grandiose is the theme of this show. If you think about the intro and all of the sets, everything is just humongous. Even the basement of this other world that they go to has 12-foot ceilings. Right. I feel like they're trying to say something with the show, which I'm glad. Like I like that it's not this cramped experience that even with Next Gen kind of felt a little cramped.
Right.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to put your finger on. Or my finger on?
Anyone's finger, really.
Anyone's finger is difficult to place.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did also like that the message there's just something different about being in the future talking about the past than being in the past and talking about how terrible it is. Like he basically said the same thing that Seven and Raffi did when they first got there. He's like, this is how it was, and you know, and then we called it like a great civil war, and then we called it the eugenics war, but then we finally called it what it was, World War III. Like, but he's talking about our present time, which is his past. But there's, but he like,
and they were very explicit and very deliberate about how they showed. I mean, we kind of got him a little mini lecture.
But there's something different about it being in the past and talking about how we moved past it and we got better than sitting in the past and going, man, this is terrible.
I agree. I felt like I liked the idea that he realized the futility of trying to speech them into at the beginning, like when not the beginning, at the end of the show where they've been taken prisoner, and he's trying to reason with the president of the alien world, and she says, "No, I'm going to take this and use how I want." And I liked that he, in the futility of the moment, he decided, well, okay, if this is the only language that you speak, let me show you who has the biggest stick.
Right. Just to clarify, you said stick.
And I can never remember her name. Nurse
Chapel.
I just think Hatchet for some reason. Is like not Emma Stone.
Yeah. It's interesting too because Nurse Chapel had a bit of that like snark and sass attitude to her.
She did. Yeah. We've commented on it before.
Yeah. And so I like that they have, Nurse Chapel kind of have that same bit of personality, but it's just interesting how different they made her look.
Kind of gave her like big hair, and she just kind of has a big presence.
Yeah.
Again, with the bigness, like it's just in a different way. Like it felt, and I like the Doctor too. He felt very well defined from the other characters. It wasn't, and I was kind of okay with their chats about it.
Right.
And I felt like they didn't overload us with backstory
No.
about how Pike and who's the Doctor, whose name I can't remember, with backstory between them, that they get right down to business. This is what we need to do.
Right.
I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah. No, me neither. And I don't remember them doing anything like this, but I also, if they did, I didn't notice, and if they didn't, I appreciate it. Where just you talking about backstory, where they're like, it's like that time in Antares 3, just like making those allusions, and they did have one moment like that. But what was nice about it was Pike handled it the way that someone would, like somebody who's out of the loop next to you. You don't just go, inside joke, don't worry about it. Like, he just very quickly alludes to, like, he helped me when I did this. I helped him when he did that. And like, that was the end of that story.
Yeah, I cannot reconcile the same person in charge of the writing of Picard being the same person in charge of the writing for this.
Right.
I can't. It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he watched all the original series and none of Next Generation.
Maybe.
Because I mean, I don't know how much you noticed, but there were references and Easter eggs all over the place.
I didn't notice because I'm just not up on all the original series stuff.
Right.
I don't catch stuff like that very easily.
That's true.
Especially what's in the background. It just doesn't hit me.
Right. Just Spock with T'Pring, when he's like, when he has to go, and she was like, "Don't make me hunt you down," and he was like, "You won't have to chase me across the galaxy to marry me," or something like that. And that's a great reference to the season 2 opener, where we learn that Spock is engaged and he has to fight Kirk on the planet.
Have we seen that one?
We have not yet. No.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I just didn't totally forget.
Right. No, but I mean, it's the Cable Guy episode. Bam, 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 bam.
Is that where he fights the Gorn or the Born?
No.
Or something like that?
No, but that was another one, like just another reference to the Gorn, who have only been seen one other time on Enterprise.
Yeah, I noticed it written down somewhere. I can't remember. I saw it. Something was written as Gorn. I don't know where I saw that in this course of this episode, but it was. And the other number 2.
No, she's letter A.
well, now she's the security officer.
Right.
So, but her whole story about her whole planet or settlement dying and what they do, and like that was some dark shit.
Yeah.
And she just kind of references like, so if you're wondering why I'm super fucked up,
there you go.
that's why. I didn't quite understand why she felt the need to not anesthetize herself when they're doing the genetic alterations. They didn't quite land. I mean, I understood that there was something going on with her, but then when she explained it, I didn't latch on. I didn't know if it was a guilt thing that she felt like she didn't deserve to be anesthetized.
Right.
Did you catch that? I didn't quite understand why that was the case.
No. Short answer is I didn't catch it either.
Okay. Yeah. What's the long answer?
No. Yeah, I mean, so, and I think this is proper Star Trek as well. Like, not only was it a great episode, but yeah, they.
But the pilot, I feel like we don't want to get too crazy about the pilot, because pilots can be weird in terms of predicting what the rest of the show will be.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, this is probably this was one of the best pilots that Star Trek has provided. And so I am hopeful that, even though it is a new series, because it's in the Star Trek franchise and they kind of know the world, that what we're seeing is kind of what we're going to get.
I hope so.
Yeah.
They have a great setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not for kindergartners in terms of storylines. And they're not resting on any super well-trodden tropes. And
right.
Like, everything was kind of new in this, while still having Spock, while still having an Enterprise, and still like the same thing.
No, I agree.
So I agree. I think this is genuine Star Trek so far.
Well, I mean, this episode.
Yes.
It's right. That's the nice thing about being episodic, is that we can say this episode was genuine Star Trek.
Right. I do wonder, though, because it is a modern television show, and even though they may set out for this to be truly episodic, like your typical Law and Order, because it is modern, and because we're so used to television being the way that it is right now, that will it actually be like an episode of Next Gen or Voyager, where you can jump in at any point? Because we actually got a lot of character information in this episode that informs their decisions. Spock is getting married and has someone waiting for him back on Vulcan. So is he antsy? We don't know, but they set us up for that for a reason. Pike has some serious baggage to deal with that they can't just reinform us of every single episode.
Right.
So you kind of have to know about that. So, and the whole speech from the security officer, whose name I'll eventually learn, I'm sure. That's some pretty heavy stuff too. So I hope they don't reiterate it every single time.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that would be difficult to make this episodic with.
Well, I hope that they've A, learned from Picard, and B, just, learned from other shows' mistakes, kind of what you're talking about, and choose to make it the best of both worlds, where, kind of like what happened in Enterprise season 3, where they have the story in this episode, and they only make at most mild allusions to what's happened with the other characters. But if it doesn't serve the plot, they don't mention it. Like, it's just one of the things that the characters have to deal with.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
To be determined. I'm cautiously optimistic. I got burned last time with Picard.
I know. Yeah.
It took me a long time to get over.
All right. Hang on. I gotta sit back down then. What is happening? There we go.
Right. Well, and they may heavily rest on the previously on.
Maybe. But if it's episodic, I hope that they don't do previously ons. Okay, ready now. Yep.
We'll find out next time on The Measure of an Episode.
We are moving back to Mondays for our release dates for all episodes, not just New Trek. And we are going to do Strange New Worlds as often as we can. Every Monday we will have a new episode. It may be Classic Trek, it may be New Trek, but as long as Strange New Worlds is running, we are going to continue having that be our Monday release. right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And I've been Paul.
That was good.
Yeah, I actually really like the show. I'm excited to watch it. I kind of get that little thing. I was like, gosh, I wish I could kind of just like binge it. Kind of want to let it go, all go, you know?
Right,
But
right.
no, we have work to do, Jonathan.
Yes. Yeah, we gotta get ready for tomorrow night.
Right. Wait, what?
Why? What are we gonna do tomorrow night?
Yeah. What are we doing tomorrow night?
Same thing we do every night, Paul.
We go to bed.
Ah, you're killing me, Smalls. Try to take over the world.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get your 30-year-old reference of a cartoon.
Hey, it just came back out on Hulu. New episode. So that is a topical reference.
Yes, you're right. I've been Paul.
I've been excited.
And this
Couple
has been
times.
Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 1, The Measure of an Episode. I don't know why I did it in that order.
Right. Yeah. Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, you can do Spock, because he's a,
Oh, so I wanted to. I didn't look it up. Do you know if he has an accent? Because it sounded like he had a mild French accent that he was trying to do an American accent for.
I didn't catch it. I felt like he was familiar to me in a way that I couldn't quite place. Like he's been an actor in something
Okay.
that every now and then it would come and go.
Right.
I couldn't quite tell. I didn't look up who the actor was.
Yeah. Anyway,
You should do a French Spock now.
but you already knew that.
Jean-Claude Van Spock.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm the Repo Man, and you're all that business.
That guy was like in theaters for every movie in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like every movie he came out, he's like Steven Seagal. He was kind of the new Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Or like the offshoot Schwarzeneggers, like guys with muscles with accents that we like.
Right. Well, yeah, he was called the Muscles from Brussels. So.
Right. Yeah. I like Muscles from Bustles better.
Okay, bye.
Okay.